And I think that today you might get some interesting things from Ross as he talks to you about the possibilities of what you might do when you go to an interview from now on. And at the back end, let's talk about more about it. In the meantime, I'm going to pass it on to Ross.
Brilliant. Listen, sorry for the delay, guys. Okay. The purpose of interviews, I suppose what we're going to look at the purpose of interviews from both sides of the desk, as it were. We're going to look at it from the company's point of view, and we're going to look at it from the candidate's point of view. But the first thing that should be pointed out is that an interview is a sales process. Your CV is your marketing brochure. You send it out there, when people are interested, they respond to it, and we then get to an interview. But it's important to, I suppose from your own point of view, to be aware of what you're looking for out of it and what you're trying to achieve. I mean, obviously the end goal is to get a job, but there's more to it than that, and it's important to be aware of what you demonstrate as you're in an interview. And again, as I say, from the other point of view, from the company's point of view, let's get to there, what they're demonstrating. Now, this is just a rough guide. An average interview takes about 45 minutes. And the breakdown of it is roughly divided as follows. So you've got about 20 to 30 minutes, which is going to be spent going through your CV, your experience, trying to get an understanding of where you're at, what you're capable of bringing to the role. You've about 5 or 10 minutes, which is the company talking about what they're looking for. So there'll be 5 or 10 minutes where the company will go through the role, the potential opportunity within the organization, how the position fits within the organization, etc., etc., and about 5 or 10 minutes which they will allocate for questions that you're likely to have. That generally comes in the latter part of the interview. From the company's point of view, there are 3 things that they are trying to achieve every time that they conduct an interview. The first one is they're going to sell their company. They're going to sell the opportunity that they have. Now, markets change. We have seen in the last 15 years, we have seen a full cycle. We have had a huge unemployment levels in the late 80s, leading to early 90s. We then had a complete switch around where there was way more positions out there than there were people to fill them. We were immigrating staff to fill roles, and we're now moving back the other way where we've net emigration, and there are more candidates than there are roles. But regardless of which side of that it is, the core, the fundamentals aren't going to change. The reality is that companies aren't interested in just filling a role for the sake of filling the role, and so therefore they are going to always focus on making sure that they're getting the best people for them. And in order to do that, they're going to, 1, sell the opportunity. 2, of course, they're going to assess the candidate. Now, the third part is the most important of this, which is the company fit. That's what they're really trying to identify. If you've been called to an interview and you've turned up, it's safe to assume that you're interested in working for that company. You have some interest in working for the company, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting in front of the interviewer that day. Assessing the candidate. They have already seen your CV. Yeah? So if you didn't match what they were looking for, at least on paper, they wouldn't have called you. Yeah? We all agree that? This is yes, by the way, yeah? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so this is the big thing that they're looking at is company fit. It's how long you're likely to stay within the organization. Companies don't like recruiting. Why? It's very time consuming, it's very costly, and it's very disruptive to the day-to-day business that they're trying to conduct, because you have line managers, you have HR, you have all these people dragged out of their normal everyday roles in order to conduct the interview process. So, as much as, yes, of course, I want to fill a role as quickly as possible if I have a vacancy in my team, what I don't want is to fill the role and have to refill it again in 3 months or in 6 months' time. So that's as important and probably more important when it comes to the interview than the other two. What I'm going to look at from the candidate's point of view, there are two main things that you need to think about, or that you should be aware of, is probably the, I'm not going to say what you should think about. What are you trying to demonstrate? What do you want to demonstrate in an interview? Okay? Now, you'll notice that I've changed it slightly, and I'll exaggerate that, or I'll highlight that part. What you actually demonstrate. There are three things that you will demonstrate in every interview that you attend, even if the only thing you do is walk in and sit down and say nothing. You will demonstrate your skills, your knowledge, and your identity. If you walk in and say nothing, that tells me a lot about your identity. It may also tell me that the skills and knowledge that I thought you had based on your CV weren't maybe as accurate as you portrayed them to be. So it's important from your point of view that you're aware of what you are demonstrating in an interview. And I'm going to actually show you a little video of some of the standard questions that tend to get asked in interviews and some responses to it. Ronald?
Yeah.
Hi, Ross. How are you?
Ross. Nice meeting you.
Come on. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Florida. I'm married. I got one kid. Dog, cat, the whole thing. You know, we got. I do a lot of mountain walking. And enjoy a lot of outdoor activities, and mostly in the summertime and everything. But during the winter, I guess I do a lot of reading and.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm assuming we've all been asked that at some stage in an interview. Yes? Probably in most of the interviews that you've attended. Okay. So what did Ron tell us about himself?
Pretty much personal information.
Yeah. Oh, that was great, wasn't it? Oh yeah, he's married and he has kids and he's from Florida and he likes, what did you like? He'll walk in a mountain climbing and whatever he likes. Which of this is a benefit to Ron, which is the fundamental part of it? What is he demonstrating about himself? Oh, he's a nice fella. That's great.
What he does outside work.
Yeah. Why would I be interested in it? Anyway, let's see. We do improve.
Wasn't that a leading question?
Was it a leading question? Yeah, yes, it was. But it was also, what we have to remember is that what we talked about earlier on, an interview is a sales process. Tell me about yourself is an opportunity for you to tell them whatever you want to tell them. Let's see if Ron improves. So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, really, I'm a natural leader in business, and it comes out of my identity. My personality is very much about focusing on leading people to the best solutions for themselves. So I've been in leadership and management since I was 18, and I've had a lot of roles around leading teams of people. I guess the biggest thing about me is my desire to inspire. And so I've been involved in training and involved in management, and it's always about getting other people to perform at their best. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Good. Okay. Now, first of all, did he still answer the question he was asked?
He did.
He did. Okay. Tell me about yourself. What do I know about Ron? Anybody? What did anybody get from that?
Leadership leader.
He wants to be a leader, right? That he's done it in the past and that he enjoys that side of it. He talked about trying to inspire people. He talked about getting involved in training. So it's all company-focused or work-focused stuff, but it's still about himself. But it now means that he's now demonstrating some of his skills, his knowledge, and him as a person is still coming through there. He talked about trying to inspire. By the way, I'm not suggesting for a moment that we all go out and copy Ron, right? Not that there's anything wrong with Ron's fine, but it's not about learning what the right answers are, and that's not the purpose of what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is to demonstrate the potential pitfalls that are there and that most of us fall into. And it's more about trying to think about what information we're trying to give, what we are demonstrating in an interview. So it's about focusing on what do you want a potential employer to know about you? I want them to know that I'm a hard-working person. I want them to know that I'm a great timekeeper. Well, I'm not, so I wouldn't tell them that. But it doesn't matter. It's about you. It's about you being able to establish what's important for you and what's important that they know about you if they're going to hire you. Yeah? Okay. Let's move on and see what the next question was.
When did you leave this previous role?
Basically, it's because my manager was a bit of a tyrant. He was always on my back, and I just couldn't take it, you know. And, yeah.
And did he give you was there any reason given?
Oh, it was on everything. Everything that we did, he was, you know, there was an issue with, you know. And in the end, I agreed to resign because it was unreasonable. And so, and but he was pushing me, you know, through HR because I had been late 3 times, and that was, you know, it's like, and it was totally unreasonable because there was no way I could get there, you know, on time with the traffic and everything. It was up on Foster's Avenue, and I just like couldn't get there on time, you know. And he couldn't accept that. He'd start screaming for no reason at all. It was like, yeah, the guy was a psychopath.
Right. Okay.
Right. First of all, what was the question?
That's a real example, just,
Yeah.
that's the type of thing that I say.
Why did you leave the previous role, right? Okay. Right. Well, anybody want to make any comments in terms of what potential pitfalls?
It was all negative explaining.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I didn't hear why did you leave your previous role. I heard what was wrong with your previous manager.
Yeah.
That's what he answered. If you look at what he said, you know, okay, there was something in there about being late, so I'm guessing that's why he got sacked. But but that was like 2 minutes of a 5-minute conversation. The rest of it was all about my manager was bad, he was unreasonable, he was this.
Criticizing your manager and using words like unreasonable.
Yeah,
And psychopath.
a psychopath. You know,
It's that.
we have to allow for our colourful neighbours from across the water on that one. But yeah, look, I mean, I suppose the reality is that, look, this isn't always, it's not an easy question, and yes, of course, we try and avoid negatives, but it's more, you have to be realistic as well. There is always going to be, like, there is a negative reason why you're not in your previous role. If there wasn't, you'd still be working there. So it's either you didn't like something there, or they didn't like you somewhere, or the company went bust, or whatever it is. It's not normally a good story, though. It's not normally a positive story. So, rather than trying to make up something and trying to create something positive, which is, I hear a lot of these coaches talking about, you know, positivity and all that. That's all very well and good, but the reality of life is that sometimes you need to deal with things that aren't a positive thing. So it's about how do I take the focus off the negative. We still have to, you know, like the reality is he's out of work because he was let go. So it's about maybe looking at adapting your answers in a way that we're not solely focused on that negative side. All right, we did give him another shot at it. So.
Okay, so tell me, why did you leave your previous role?
Actually, I left, well, the business is over on Foster's Avenue, and because of the situation between my wife and myself, and the way that our hours have changed, and our daughter went to another school, what's happening is that I can't get to work without getting caught up in the traffic every morning going over to that area, because the hours that are set, and they're very set hours in the company, are 9 to 5. And that means basically that I would have to leave at 7:30 in the morning in order to get there for the 9 to 5, and I can't leave before 5 o'clock. And so in reality, it was about looking for a better job and a better location for me.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, it took him a little bit of time to get there, but he got there in the end. It was about finding a job in a better location for me, right? That's a very positive way of saying I couldn't make it to my old job.
I was late.
I was late all the time, yeah, right? So it was, the reality is, there is still a negative there. So there's no point, if this interview goes well, the chances are I'm going to check references anyway. So I'm going to touch base with his previous company. So there's no point in him saying, oh, well, actually, and making something up. He has to touch on the fact that there was an issue in terms of the location and the timekeeping. So, but he has managed to focus it on the fact that it was a location issue as opposed to the fact that he just didn't want to get out of bed. Now, I don't know which is true, but at least he's able to focus on a positive thing as opposed to getting stuck down in, well, I didn't hear anything about his manager. Now, I'm guessing his manager is the same guy. His manager, he still didn't get on with him. And yet there was no mention of it. Why? Because there was no need to. That wasn't what the crux of the problem was. The crux of the problem was him arriving late. Yeah? Okay.
And what are your salary expectations?
I don't know. I really, the whole market's changed.
Yeah.
So I just want a job.
Okay.
Who likes that question? What are your salary expectations? Kind of a hard one, right? Okay. Why is it so difficult? Is there anyone who would work if they won the Euro Millions?
Yeah.
You would? Okay. Would you work in your same job?
Yeah.
Okay, then you should stay where you are. The majority of people, if you ask them, wouldn't necessarily do the role that they're doing. So the role that you're doing, or the role that you're applying for, is for money. Okay. Now, this is a fundamentally, Americans don't have this problem, by the way. Americans, when you ask them salary expectations, they'll tell you straight out. Because I would say because they're more brash, but that's because I'm looking at it from a different viewpoint. But the reality is, I don't know whether it's something innately in us as Irish people that we struggle with it, but we shouldn't. The reality is that we're there to get a job that's going to pay us money. Yeah? Okay. Somebody asks you, what are your salary expectations? First of all, do you know what your salary expectations are? I'm guessing you all have an idea. Probably, I would imagine, most of you have at least one figure in mind. Probably most of you have more than that. Most of you have, well, I wouldn't take a job that pays less than this. Ideally, I'd be on this, and somewhere in between, and depending on how big that gap is between those two figures, are varying levels of how enthusiastically you're gonna grease a potential opportunity. Yeah? There is always a time, by the way, where that bottom figure will change, right? That bottom figure can change depending on who we all need to pay bills, right? That's the reality of life. We all have expenses in our life that we want to have covered off. I don't know, unless there's somebody here who did win Euro Millions, in which case, give us all a bit, will you? But the reality is that it's about, there isn't a right and a wrong answer to salary expectations, and it can be a difficult question, but there's a very easy way around it.
So, what are your salary expectations?
Well, basically, the range that you were advertising was between 35 and 45, and I see myself pretty much in the middle there, someplace. But it would be towards the 45 area.
Okay, that's a very easy way around it, isn't it? Okay, what's the salary range of the job? There is every single job that is created, right? When they do up a job spec, there will be a salary range along with that job. Sometimes it will be advertised, other times you have to ask. But if somebody asks you what are your salary expectations, surely the easiest question, if you don't know what the salary range is, why not just ask them? Well, what's the salary range in the job? Well, in this case, the salary range is 35 to 45k. Okay, well, I'd accept that, ideally closer to the 45 as well. That's fine, he's still within the salary range, and then it's about the company making a decision in terms of, do we feel that with the experience, knowledge, and attributes that he's bringing to it, is he worth paying that level? They may well come back and say, well actually, you know what, we think you have potential, we don't think you're quite there yet, so we'll bring you in slightly, and then it may offer him something slightly lower. But that's fine, that's then a negotiation. But I suppose the key from your own point of view is don't avoid it. I mean, in the first example, and by the way, I've heard it so many times, oh, you know what, I don't know, I need a job. Yeah? Okay, you need a job, of course you need a job, otherwise why would you be at an interview? But does that mean that you're going to work for 10 grand a year? No, of course not. Right? Yeah, okay, so it's about, there's no point in saying, oh, I'll take anything. Because the truth is you won't take anything, and even if you accepted a job that paid 10 grand a year or 15 grand a year, whatever that minuscule figure was, you wouldn't be happy in it. And you keep looking. Yeah? So therefore, there's no point in saying I'll accept anything, I just need a job. So, if you don't have, as I say, I would suggest that, or certainly when I've ever gone for an interview, I always have two figures in my mind. I have a figure that's the minimum that I'll accept to do the work, and then I'll have a figure that I'm hoping I'm going to earn. And ideally, we're going to finish somewhere in between that. But the easiest way to go on is you have to be within the salary range of that job. Because if you're not within that salary range, it doesn't matter how great you are, how much of a superstar you are, how wonderful I think you are, the fact that you're a great hill walker, whatever it might be, if you don't fit their criteria, they're not going to hire you for it. So there's no point in talking yourself out of a job. There's no point if the salary range is 45 to 55k, and you going in saying, I want 70 grand. So they're going to say, okay, thanks for coming in. Interview finished, like, you know what I mean? So it's about understanding the range, that range, as I say. Oftentimes it's advertised. If it's not advertised, it's very easy to find out. If you're going through an agency, the agency will certainly tell you. If you've applied directly and they haven't given you a salary range, that's the perfect opportunity to ask it. What are your salary expectations? They roll it up. Okay, well, what's the salary range for the role? Yeah? We're all comfortable asking that, I presume. This is not, yes. Yeah, okay. So it's an easy way around it. If you're concerned about going in and pitching yourself too high or too low, and then within that salary range, you can always say, okay, well look, I'd accept anything above whatever point in that salary range that you're happy at. Yeah? Okay.
Sorry, can I just
Yes, of course you can.
Given the present economic climate,
Yes.
do you think that some companies have sort of, even, they're advertising a job, at X, but they're sort of, they kind of adjusted it kind of downwards to tie in with the economic climate. And basically they're kind of expecting somebody to do, everything for a kind of a low salary. So in those circumstances, like, what do you do if you ask the salary range isn't given, it's usually depending on experience. You go to the interview and you ask the salary range and you're thinking, that's very low. What do you say in those circumstances?
But if it's very low, then tell. There's no point in pretending it's not. Like, as I say, I mean, there's no point in getting a job that you're going to be miserable in, and you're going to keep looking for a job straight away. Like, what's the benefit to you or to the company in that circumstance?
Yeah, well, the benefit to me, sort of personally, would be to get a foot in the door and maybe go in on the basis of, look, I'm not really happy with that salary, given my experience, but, maybe in 6 months' time, we can negotiate it upwards.
Okay.
Salaries have dropped.
That's the other thing to bear in mind. Yeah, salary levels in general have dropped. If you look at across the board, in both the public and the private sector, there have been pay cuts. So you do have to allow for that. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, I'll be willing to go in and earn a lower salary initially, as long as it's going to be reviewed in 6 months' time. That's the perfect answer, why not? Because not only does that show me that you're committed in terms of you're dedicated and you're willing to work hard, it also shows you strength and faith in your own ability, then you will come in and that I'm not going to, in 6 months' time, going, Jason, we're paying that girl too much. You know, which, by the way, is the other option in terms of the salary review. There's no guarantee that it's going to go up. But absolutely, that would be, if you're in a circumstance where you feel this is the right opportunity for you, in terms of a long-term opportunity, but the salary level is low, then why not say, look, to be honest with you, the salary level is a little bit lower than I was expecting, but I'm quite happy to come in and prove myself as long as it's reviewed within a set time frame. Whether that be 6 months or a year. Oftentimes it will be reviewed at the end of the probationary period anyway. Yeah?
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
And did you have any questions for me?
No, I think you pretty much answered everything in the beginning.
Okay.
You know, when I came in, so, and I saw it all in the job spec anyhow, so.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thanks for coming in.
Okay then, thank you
All right.
very much.
Okay. Have you any questions for me? Well, you gotta ask something, surely, right?
Yeah, it doesn't look good not asking anything, yeah.
Well, remember what's the purpose of what we're doing there. This is a sales process, right? If I get a phone call from, which I did the other day, from a lad from Aircon Phone Watch, selling me whatever and I wasn't interested, that's fine. If I'm interested, am I going to say, when he's finished talking, am I going to go, okay, great, sign me up? No, I'm going to ask questions. A question is an expression of interest. It's what in sales they call a buying signal, right? So, if I have no questions about their company, about the role, how interested does that make me seem? Because it's not about how interested I am. It's about how interested I seem. It's about what I demonstrate, yeah? Okay. So just think about that. By the way, I'm not going to give you a set of questions that you should have. I know there are coaches out there who do that kind of stuff. Because the reason I'm not going to is because, first of all, you're all adults, you all have minds of your own, and you're all well capable of coming up with your own ideas. My questions are not necessarily going to be your questions. But it's just about thinking about it beforehand. It's the whole, the title of the talk, the purpose of the interview. So the purpose of it, from your point of view, should be, what am I trying to find out? Yeah? Okay, let's see if we improve.
So, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to get an idea more about the culture of the company and the type of team size that I'd be working with.
Okay. Right, so what did he ask? Culture of the company and the type, the number of people who are going to be in his team, or the team size he was going to be working in. Okay. So what do we think of those questions? What do those questions tell us about Ron's attitude to the role? Okay. Yeah.
But he also added a positive.
Yeah.
Why would he manage it? So he's already in the role.
Yeah, he's thinking, what's the size of the team I'm going to be involved in? What's the size? So he's already placing himself in that job. And he's thinking about, okay, the culture of the company. So is it a company that, you know, do people go out and socialize together? Is it the number of people that are going to be working within his team? So he's already thinking of himself in that position. And this is the second part of what you, as a candidate, should be aware of. When you're going, the purpose of your interview, of course, the sole purpose is to get offered a job, yes? We all agree that, I presume. Yes, okay, great. So, the two things that you want to be thinking about is, one, what you want to demonstrate, and the second one is, does this role or company suit me? Just because there is loads of candidates out there and there are less jobs than there were 10 years ago, doesn't mean that every job you take or every job you get offered is going to be the right job for you. You still need to think about, is this the right environment for me? Yeah? We all agree that, right?
If you have a choice,
If you have a choice.
if you have a choice.
Okay.
If you're paying an eye, you look at it.
Yeah, okay, well, you always have that choice. But yes, in terms of, you mean if you have a choice of different jobs, that's what you mean by it. Yeah, of course. So there will always become a point where you need a job. right? There's always a point where we need to pay bills, where we need to have something. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right long-term opportunity for you. That's good. Okay, but at least find out. There's nothing to say that, by the way, when he asked that question in terms of what was the culture of the company, right? By the way, remember, the company are there to sell themselves as well. So I have never, ever, not only have I never heard it, I've never even heard about a company who will say, oh, we're a terrible company to work for. Right? They won't. Why? Because they're going to sell themselves as an organization, as a good place to work. So find out what makes them think that they're a good place to work. Because it may well be the fact that I hadn't thought about it that way, and I was just going in there to take a job. Yeah? As opposed to I wasn't looking to build my career, I just wanted to get myself back into work, or whatever the case may be. But it is important from your point of view, okay, so does this role or company suit me? And they are two separate things, by the way. Yeah? The role that you're applying for does not necessarily, and in this day and age, it is very unusual for somebody to go into a role and stay in that position for an extended period of time. Normally, people move companies and move roles quite frequently, other than if you get a job in Orsa Nuclear, you're guaranteed 7 years. But most of us, in terms of when we go into a role, don't stay in the same role for that period of time. So it's just about looking at it in terms of, if they can't tell you anything positive about working for their organization, and they work within their organization, that should tell you something yourself. And of course, I understand what you're getting at in terms of sometimes you don't have loads of choices, but you still have bills to pay. Exactly. So yeah, absolutely, you need to get a role, but that doesn't mean that. Yeah, and it also doesn't mean that. And by the way, I'm not necessarily recommending it, but it doesn't mean that you can't take that job and still look around. If you find yourself in a position where you're financially under pressure, but you can't do that until you get offered it. So in order to get offered it, you need to show them that you're interested in it, and that's what Ron Dennis did. I have no idea whether Ron wanted that pretend role or not, but in the second set of questions, by asking those questions in terms of how many people am I going to be working with, or what kind of a company, I can't remember what the other question you asked. Oh, what kind of company culture you had there. At least he shows me he's interested in working in the role. Yeah? The other thing to bear in mind, guys, is that the people on the other side of that table don't assume that they're good at what they're doing in terms of interviewing. So you need to make it as easy and as obvious as possible to them that you're genuinely. Now they should be, of course they should be. But lots of things in life should happen. They don't always. So you just need to make sure that it's crystal clear that yes, I'm interested. And that's the easiest way of expressing your interest is, have you any questions? Yes, I want to know where you did your Christmas party last year. I want to know how many people are in the company. I want to know, it doesn't matter what you want to know. It really doesn't, other than, how many sick days I'm entitled to. We try and avoid those types of questions, obviously. But other than that, there's no negative